welcome to the Cheer Up Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Hunt, and with me is the lovely Sherry Swalwell. How's your day going so far today, Sherry?
It is really going fantastic. I feel happy. I feel excited. I'm always glad to be here with you, having a chance to just talk and get together. I have a new favorite. Well, it's not my favorite flavor of coffee. I have a new flavor of coffee that I'm drinking today. I would put this in the, I might try it again, but not for a little while time. It's good, but it's not the best. It's a white chocolate strawberry. So again, it's good, but it isn't one that I would wake up every morning and say, "Oh, can I have that again today?" No, but I don't know. It has like this really sweet flavor, even though there's no sugar in it. So that part I'm loving, and it's that fruity flavor which I'm loving. I always love fruity flavors in the spring and summer, and because they just feel fresher and not quite so heavy. And so all of that is good, but it's not one that I would. It's not one that I would say to my husband, "Hey, if you want to bless me, you could go buy this for me." Nope.
It's, speaking of coffee, not too long ago, in one of the previous podcasts, we just would kind of, I think, talk about some of the things that we enjoy and different things. And coffee had come up because we all know Sherry loves coffee, and I do too. We were talking about medium roast versus dark roast and how I'm a dark roast girl. It's just that me and caffeine, we love each other, but I think we love each other too much. You ever heard of a toxic relationship? So it's like, meaning it's not good for me personality wise. Like I say, I already talk a lot. I already talk fast. You give me caffeine, like with the coffee the way I like it, kind of strong and a strong dark roast. And I tell you, it's like someone put batteries in my back and I am just, It's like, so, for me, I don't enjoy coffee as much as I would like to because of that. Like I said, it's a toxic relationship. It just gets me in trouble because people are like, "What are you on? Are you okay?" Like, you haven't shut up, you haven't stopped talking, or anything. Like, and I'm just like real hyped. However, I do remember when you had mentioned, as I had told you, when I do drink coffee, I am a huge fan of the black coffee at Chick-fil-A. And you mentioned, oh, have you tried their iced coffee? I still haven't tried it, but I had mentioned it to Kurt, I think that day, and he went and he tried it, and he loved it.
It is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah. Well, we used to have a Chick-fil-A 20, 25 minutes away, which was perfect because then we didn't go all the time. We just went every once in a while. Well, we now have one in town. Like literally I pass by it every day when I drop off and pick up our youngest from school. And I have not yet. I haven't broken down yet and bought myself a one lately. But yes, that because I know the minute I start, that's like going to be my go-to. And I also have a love-hate relationship with caffeine, so I can only do it every once in a while. I was telling you last month that I had pretty much been caffeine-free since
that's right. November. Yes, you did.
But it creeps back in every once in a while, and I know my personality, and my personality is the type that if I am not disciplined and if I don't keep it out purposefully, then it will creep back in daily instead of, once every month or so, which is still not good. And I have a boss who can tell when I've had caffeine, and he's like, "Hello, what is wrong with you today?" And I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It'll go away in about 8 hours, maybe 12."
Yes, right, in about 8 hours.
But it's not even that so much. Like for him, that's all that he notices. But I become a bear with my family, and I just don't feel right. I'm like convicted as a human being. Like the closer I get to God, the more convicted I am that this is something in my life that I can actually control. And if I choose to abuse my body in that regard to the point where it's detrimental to my family, how selfish am I being? Like that's a me thing. I know I went from fun to serious in a heartbeat. But for me, that was a me thing. And so it kind of goes along with what we're talking about today, encouraging and blessing people. I knew that I wasn't really being a blessing to my family by being selfish like that. So I try really, really hard to keep it out as much as possible. But it does sneak in every once in a while. And then I have to apologize. But yeah, so you do have to seriously go try it because it is amazing. I just don't want to get back in the habit of drinking it because it is so good.
It is. But see, that goes back to a previous podcast we talked about at the beginning of this year, where we talked about introspection and retrospection, just kind of knowing things, like taking those moments to see like what makes us tick, what makes us relax, what makes us hyper, what saddens us, what is good, what is bad, and things like that. Just taking that insightful look, and just kind of inflecting upon, those type of things. And so in one of those moments, you kind of realize, hey, I love this stuff. And even though there's nothing like bad about it, it's the way I react to it has become a problem.
Exactly.
So you have reflected on that and you're like, man, I probably need to step back a little bit. Caffeine is a stimulant. It is doing what it is designed to do, right? It stimulates.
Thank you, Kathy, for going extra, doing that extra in my body instead of
yes, and it's like, so it's doing what it was quote unquote designed to do and what it is. And I just think our bodies, I don't know if it comes to a point to where our bodies are telling us like, yeah, you've had enough. Or, maybe this may not be for you an everyday thing, Kara. Okay. So maybe in small doses. And I've had to learn that, over the years. However, I am continually impressed. And, by people, and you see this, I tend to see it when we have maybe meetings at night or something like that. I am continually impressed by people who can drink coffee at night and still go to sleep within an hour, or within 2 hours or 3 hours. I can't even think about drinking or even having any type of caffeine after 11 a.m. if I want to sleep at night. Okay? Otherwise, I'm going to be tossing and turning. And I've seen people drink coffee or strong caffeinated drinks, and they go home and they go to sleep everything's normal.
Yeah, I don't have to stop at I don't know. Maybe I do have to stop at 11 because I really don't drink caffeine much at all anymore. But yeah, I can drink decaf throughout the day, although most of the time, very rarely will I drink even decaf coffee at night, mainly more if I'm at a church function or out and about somewhere.
Right.
But at home, I don't know. Sometimes I'll do hot chocolate. Sometimes I'll do hot tea. Sometimes I won't do anything. But most of the time I won't do anything. But yeah, I agree with you. Some people, I think it would be nice not to have my body overreact to a bunch of like that.
Yeah, and I think that's it. We just kind of our body just is too stimulated by caffeine. It doesn't really work for us. But I've seen those people, and it's or I used to work with someone, during the day, she could drink it all day long. And it's how do you do that? Do you not have, and everything? And so it's some people can do that. And like you say, some people can drink it at night, at church functions and meetings and, or just different things that you do at night where, you have coffee and dessert and whatnot. And they just oh, okay, everything's fine. My husband is one of them. He can do it. It's it's 8:00. You sure you want to drink that? He's oh yeah, I'll be fine. And he's oh, cold, in less than 3 hours. And I'm how does that even work? Because I will be up for another 8 to 10 hours, and then my whole day and week is off, So, but again, that goes back. And if anyone wants to listen to that podcast, again, it was one of the first ones we did in the beginning of the year. So if you ever want to just go back and listen to that podcast about the importance, or even think about like, what are they talking about? Like reflecting on things and introspecting and doing things like that. And we just talked about it at the beginning of the year. So feel free to go back and listen to that podcast as well. This month, though, we're doing our encouragement series. So we're going to be talking about encouragement and blessing, and encouraging and or blessing others. And speaking of blessings, we just want to thank all of our listeners, all of you who just support us on social media, who have subscribed, who have followed, who have downloaded our podcast in America and in other countries. We want to say we see you. We know you're out there, and just thank you so much. And you just have no idea how much of a blessing you are to us when we see that, the different countries and everything that pop up, and the different, whenever we get different comments, and the downloads and subscribes and everything like that. So that is a blessing to us when you do that. And if you haven't, or if you're new to the podcast and you would like to subscribe and or download the podcast, we are available on all major podcast platforms, such as Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and things like that. And however, we are now also on Facebook. Facebook has the option for those of mobile phones. They have an option now to where you can listen to podcasts while you scroll Facebook. So they have a little tab there now called audio slash podcast, I believe it's what it's called. You go there, you type in the name of Cheer Up Podcast, and it'll pull it up. Has a little mini player. You hit it, you play it, and then you can play that while you're just scrolling through or checking your Facebook pages and posts and reading and or typing in comments. So you can do all of that and listen to the Cheer Up Podcast at the same time. So it's really kind of neat. So, and again, you can also subscribe there. So that's really kind of cool, because I think when you pull up the mobile app, then it tells you, hey, there's a new episode of the Cheer Up Podcast available. So you'll be able to see that like every Wednesday. So again, thank you everyone for just encouraging and blessing us. And today we're going to try to do the same with you and talk more about this topic. So encouragement and blessing each other is just such a great way to start the day. Don't you think, Sherry?
I do. And I think it was kind of a while ago when God kind of put, he just kind of made, he kind of made it a lifestyle. And I'll come back to talking about that in a minute. But as I started to talk about that, I kind of feel nudged to say, one of the best ways I have found, and I think this is what started my lifestyle, so this is what started the sentence that I had just previously begun with, the lifestyle of encouraging and blessing others, or looking up to see who we can encourage and bless. My family, myself and my family, we went through quite a valley. It was quite a deep valley a while ago. And I look back now and I think, wow, hindsight, it doesn't ever seem as bad when you're out of it as it did when you were in it. But it seems like we were getting hit on all sides in lots of different ways. And I just remember thinking, I went through such a dark period of my life where I was like, okay, am I the scapegoat in all of this? Is God going to continue to bless everybody around me? And I'm the one, okay, how many more years do I have left to live before I'm going to go up to heaven and all of this will be over? Like, can I survive it? Like, I just was in a really, really bad place. And only by God's grace did he get me out of it. And he got me out of it through so many different ways. One of them was my prayer partner, who totally was used by him to be a blessing to not just me, but to our family. But before I even met her, before he even allowed her to come into my life, I just was in a really, really dark place. And I thought, how can I get out of this funk? I was still suffering from depression. It was hard. I was losing my job. I had lost part of my job already, and then I ended up losing the rest of it, all due to technology and AI. And so I just didn't know I didn't know what other shoe was going to fall. I didn't know what we were going to do. I was learning how to trust God with my finances. I was learning how to trust God with every single aspect and area of our lives. And so I remember during that particular season, I would say I had to take our youngest to preschool. And so the drive was like 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. And I would play praise music, and I would just sing and sing and sing and sing. And that was one of the ways that God encouraged me. But the way that I figured out during that season in life, the best way to get out of my funk at that particular time was to look around and see who I could help, who I could bless, who I could put a smile on their face. Because it inevitably, when we take our eyes off of our problems, when we focus on God's promises, or when we focus on being a blessing to other people, inevitably it blesses us. And I will tell you time and time and time again, that is what really worked for me. I remember one particular incident. I was at Big Lots for some reason. I honestly don't remember why. I was picking up something there, I'm sure. And I was feeling really down that morning. And I thought, okay, who can I bless, God? I'm going to shift my mind off of my own problems, and I'm going to see who I can bless. Well, this lady came in. There was a lady cashier, and I say ladies on purpose. There's a point for that. There was a lady cashier. Then a lady came in, and she was trying to return this, I don't know, really heavy, like armoire or desk or something, but it was like really heavy. And so she needed to return it. And so she came up to the front desk as I was checking out, and she said, hey, is there anybody that can help me? I need to pull this out of my truck, my truck. And so I said, well, I'll help you. Well, the Big Lot people wouldn't let me because it was a liability for them. And so I left, and I'm like, no, seriously, I would like to help. And they're like, no, ma'am, we can't let you help. And I said, so I like got kind of snarky, which I feel bad about now, but that was the state of mind I was in. I go, seriously? I said, I'm offering to help and you're not even going to let me help? And she goes, no, I can't let you help. And so I left there and I thought, oh, great. I'm so useless that I can't even help when I'm offering help. And it's kind of funny now. I think about it and I think, okay, I'm kind of glad that they didn't let me help because who knows what would have happened. But I probably could have broken the whole thing. But I really, really believe that one of the best ways to get out of your own funk or to get out of your own problems or to get out of your own head is to bless other people. What do you think, Kara?
I wholeheartedly agree. It's as a matter of fact, well, I can't think of the scripture right now that I think that I'm thinking of, and I don't want to misquote it, but I absolutely do think that it's like sometimes when we're going through a hard time and or a difficult time, some of the best medicine, honestly, is to really just get out and do and help someone else. It really is. And sometimes we can do that by simple things. We can just say, hey, call them up and think for them. And one of the things I think that even when you're going through a dark time and you feel like nobody is there for you, whether you don't feel like your family is there for you and or they don't understand necessarily what you're going through, or you feel like you haven't felt from your heard, you feel like you have not heard from your friends in a long time, or they may not even know what you're going through. If you're desiring a phone call, like if you're in that particular moment of your life where you're like, man, I could really use a phone call from a friend right now, but no one's calling, pick up the phone and call a friend. Give what you are wanting. If you're or give what you are in need of. And if you're thinking, man, I could really use a text from a friend right now, then send a text to a friend that you haven't heard from, talked to, or seen from a while, or something like that. Whatever your need is, then redeem that need in a way to, and bless somebody else with it. If you really are like, oh my goodness, I could really use a hug right now. I just need a hug. Then go and hug someone, or if you're just like, I wish someone would just smile at me today, then smile. Or I wish, my husband would call me. I wish my sister would call me. I wish my mother, brother, sister, cousin, whoever, you're thinking about, and for some reason or for whatever reason they're not calling at that particular time, pick up the phone and call someone else. You know? So sometimes the best way to do is to give what we need, honestly, emotionally, you know, or something like that. And it's like, because it just blesses us so much because we know we need it for that particular moment in our need. We're lacking that from others, what we, would really desire at that moment. But the best way to deal with that is to take that and bless somebody else with it. Does any of that make sense, Sherry?
Oh, absolutely. And I love the examples that you gave because that's the other important part. Like for me, when I was going through that hard time and I was making it my goal to go bless other people, we didn't have a dime to spare, really, not much. And but the ways to bless people don't have to cost money. A lot of times it costs time. And if you don't have time to spare, but you have money to spare, then use the money instead of the time. Use the resources that you have to bless people. And I believe it does say also in the Bible that the more you give, the more you will receive. Meaning, the more
Absolutely, yes.
the more seeds that you sow, and the more that you give out of a generous heart, the more God gives back to you. Which is so not the world's economy, but God's economy is so much better than the world's economy. So give what you have to give. We didn't have money to give, but I had time. I had lost my job. I had a lot of time. I don't have time now, but I have a little more resources. I have some time, but I don't have a ton of time. And that's the other thing too. Like, I think that goes back to what we were talking about last week too, is so I just said, be generous with what you have, your time, your resources, whatever. But at the same token, be very, very wise in how you spend those resources. Ask God first, what ways?
Absolutely. You're so right.
So that you're not using the resources that you have in the wrong places.
Absolutely, because we can easily do that, like out of desperation, right? Yes.
Exactly. Well, I didn't want to interrupt you, so you go ahead.
Well, no, we can do it, like I said, out of desperation, out of, we're just not thinking clearly, because we're emotionally distraught maybe or mentally distraught. And so, yes, but it's perfect to just, because like you may say, you know what, I really could use a call from a friend right now. And you may be thinking to call, a particular friend, but what's the harm in saying, Lord, show me who I should call right now?
Exactly.
Because you never know. That person may need to hear from you that day.
Mm-hmm.
And because we don't have something, we kind of get very selfish. Well, nobody's calling me, so I'm not going to call them. No one's texting me or emailing me, so I'm not going to text or email them. No one's, hugging me, so why should I reach out and hug people? Oh my goodness. That is such the opposite of encouragement and blessing. And not only that, that is detrimental to your health because you are becoming Sister Sourpuss, so to speak. Right? Or Brother Sandpaper. And, you're that person that, people are like, they always seem to be in a foul mood. And you didn't intend to become that person. You just started taking in everything, right? You just was taking the hits and taking the hits and taking the hits, but never just doing something to get rid of those hits, never putting up something to block those hits. And the best way to do that is when you don't allow them to sink in and you decide, I'm gonna whatever I need and desire and want at this moment, I'm going to give it to somebody else. You keep it from getting so deep into your spirit to where you become very sour and salty about it.
Well, so you talked about some great points of the different ways that people can or can't, how you choose to bless people and why you choose not to, and how to pick who to choose. Sometimes it all comes down to, instead of the more negative ones, which I'm so glad that you pointed those out, sometimes it comes down to we just think they're all fun, and we need to have God show us which ones are the ones that he has for our lives in this season.
Yes.
Because I remember my pastor, he oversaw us when we served in the nursery. And I was talking to him about my ministry, and he said, Sherry, the one word of caution that I have for you is that you will get too busy because you will want to do it all. Every opportunity that's presented to you, you'll say, yeah, sure. Well, not every opportunity that's presented to us is the best for our life. So we need to have that discernment, and we need to have those conversations with God. Because like you said in the past episode last week, Mary might be the exact pick that God has to do the homeless shelter and feeding the homeless that you had been doing, because Mary now has time on her hands, or it would bless Mary to be able to bless the homeless people more than it would bless you, because I'm calling you, speaking as God, which I'm not being God, but God is calling us to go into a different ministry that Mary doesn't even have anything to do with, or doesn't know anything about, or it's not on Mary's radar because Mary doesn't have that empathy for it because Mary didn't experience it.
Absolutely. And it's all about just calming ourselves down, and just listening to God. And I think that's just very hard for doers, so to speak, too. You know what I'm saying? Meaning those personality types where it's like, let's just do. What? Yeah. Sit back, think, reflect, introspect. Who's got time for that? I got to go.
But if you think about it from a different perspective, how much fun and how exciting is it to wake up every morning and say, okay, God, what's my agenda for today? Because I know it's not going to be the same as yesterday, because you're a God of adventure, and you're a God of love, and you're a God of fun. So what do you got for me today? Like, how fun would it be to live that way?
Absolutely. And it would be, and so exciting, right? Because you're just like, okay, what to do today, and everything else. And it reminds me of Jeremiah 29:11 in the scriptures, where it says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." So when God has the thoughts, right? He already knows what he thinks towards us. He already knows all of this type of stuff. And they're not bad. It says thoughts of peace, and things like that. It's like, so when we seek him and say, I think some people think of, when you're just kind of waiting on God to give you direction or something, they kind of do it with a fear and trembling attitude, like, oh my goodness, he's going to ask me to do something that I really, really don't want to do, right?
Right.
He's just, oh my goodness, I just know. And so we really don't want to do that because we don't want to say no to the Lord or be disobedient. So we just don't ask. Right? we just don't ask. Huh?
Been there, done that.
Yes, it's like, I could ask, but he could say, yeah, I'm just not going to ask, and so we just kind of sit there in the middle of the road, type of thing. But then if we remember how the scriptures talks about, that he has thoughts of peace, and everything, to just really give us an expected end, and that we trust him and everything. It's like, you can ask for that adventure. You can ask for that without shaking and trembling, because most of the times I think we'd be like, oh, wow, you want me to do that? I never thought about that. That is going to be so cool. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. I can't wait to tell everybody I feel like you're leading me now, and we don't see it like that could be the answer. Instead, we think, I knew it. You're going to ask me to go to this foreign country where it's really, really hot. And God, how me and the heat don't get along, and not only that, they have mosquitoes the size of apples, everything else. And you want me to go and minister to these people. I knew it. I never should have asked. I should have just, been oblivious to it, and everything else. But it's not that way.
No.
It's not. It's like, he knows the thoughts that he has for us. He wants to give us an expected end, and he knows, that we may not really think about it, in the beginning, like, yeah, I don't know, and everything else. But then afterwards, how many people have you heard that they say, wow, I was like, God, where am I going with this? Like, I know nothing about this particular area that you're leading me into, right? And then like years later, they're like, oh, it was the best thing ever, you know? Because he knows how it's going to end up. He knows how it's going to end up. So, yeah, and it's just one of those things to where we just want to encourage everyone to be able to sit back and to just, talk with God and just to try to get that type of uh, intimacy with him to where you can have that conversation, it doesn't always have to be, a negative thing, like you mentioned, about like, a negative response from God.
Well, and here's another aspect of it too. And I think that this part hits home to me because I lived such a life of fear for so many years, that when God calls you to it, like when you build your trust in God, that when you approach life, when you live a life that you want to bless other people, that you want to encourage other people, it's a lifestyle. Then when you wake up in the morning and you say, okay, God, who are we going to bless today? Not can I bless somebody? Am I going to bless somebody? Who am I going to bless today? Who are you going to put on my path that I'm going to bless today? Then you have the assurance, you have built up that trust that no matter who God puts in front of you, and you will have a peace that, yes, this is what God is calling you to do, or you'll have a peace that says, nope, that is not what I said for you. That is not my will. That is the enemy trying to dissuade you. Don't listen to that voice. Like when you know that, and you know it from practice, like it's not like anybody wakes up one day and it just happens. Like it's just practice. Like just like when you get to know your spouse or your friends or your children, it just takes time of spending time together. So when you find that out, and when God offers you situations and ways to bless people, then you can know without a shadow of a doubt that he's going to take care of you. And I think that that's important to note in today's society right now, because there are a lot of scary things going on. There are a lot of germs floating around out there, and there's a lot of stuff going on out there that wasn't going on 5-10 years ago. But we can have the assurance and we can have the peace that if God brings us to it, he's going to bring us through it because he brought us there. So why would he bring us there only to have something tragic happen? I have a couple instances in my own life. One, my husband and our oldest were at a men's retreat. And so I had our younger two with me, and they were younger at that time. I don't know, maybe preschool and elementary, upper elementary, somewhere around there. So they were young enough that I needed to still protect them, not the older that they are now. And we were driving home. I don't remember where we had been that morning. I think just running errands. And there was an accident. And I remember it was like a, I don't know, young 20-ish guy, I think, that had been in the accident. And God said to me very clearly as I was driving, we were singing songs, we were just having fun. And he said, Sherry, go back there. He has a little kid that you need to take care of while he talks to the police. And I said, excuse me, God, do you realize that I don't know any of those people? I'm going to look like an idiot if I go in there. They're going to think I'm some crazy woman who's trying to kidnap his kid. I have my own kids with me. You see that, right? Like I'm supposed to do this. And he would not let me rest. He said, Sherry, I want you to go and take care of his child so that he can talk with the police. And so I said to our kids, I said, I turned around and they're like, what are you doing? I said, we're going back to that accident back there. And I'm going to offer to watch that kid until either his grandparents come or until the guy's done with the police. That's what and they're like, what? And I said, yeah, I know. I mean, I had never done something like this. This is the fear-mongered mother. This is the mother who put Charmin all over her kids before they went outside to ride their bikes. Like, I didn't do stuff like this. And so I went back and I parked in a safe place. And I told the kids, I said, stay here in the car, lock the doors, and only come out if I motion towards you. So I walked down there. I'm feeling really stupid. I'm like, he's going to just think that I'm an idiot. And I said, hey, I said, I know you don't know me. I know I'm a complete stranger. I have children. They're right up there. Just wanted to let you know I'm a mom myself. Do you need me to watch your child while you talk to the police? Would that be helpful to you? He like threw his kid at me. Like, and this poor kid was like, I don't know you from Adam. So I pulled my kids out, and I think I had told them at this point, I said, because we always carried toys in the car at that time in our life. And so I said to them, I said, I said, if I motion towards you, make sure you bring the toys, because he doesn't know me from Adam. So he's going to need a distraction. So we played on the side of the road with this kid, with these toys. And I was probably literally only like 10 or 15 minutes. And then his grandparents came, they took over. They looked at me like I was weird. Like, why is this strange woman playing with my child or my grandchild? And the funny thing is that our neighbor at the time, who was also a police officer, he was one of the ones that was called to the accident. And he goes, hey, Sherry, do you know him? I said, nope. I said, I'm just here helping out. And I have no idea what kind of an impression I made on him, good or bad, but it was all God. And it felt so good afterwards. Yes, there was that initial embarrassment. That was the initial, okay, they're going to think I'm a weirdo and they're going to call the police on me because they're going to think I'm trying to kidnap their child. But I knew that God would work out the details because he would not let me rest, even though I argued with him. And sometimes, I don't know, I don't think God always gets mad at us if we argue with him from a obedient heart. He knew that I was willing to do it. I was just saying, God, are you sure? Because I feel really dumb. But even feeling dumb, I'll do it if this is what you want me to do. I have prayed in airports with complete strangers. I have stood at 1 year. I was supposed to go just meet my aunt. I met my aunt in Colorado at that airport, and my family was at home. So this was the first time I had ever traveled by myself since I was like 18, and I was in my 40s. And I just didn't want to leave my family. I love being with my family, but I was going out to see my other family. So I was like, okay. Well, we missed the connection. We ended up having to spend the night. It was a big thing. And I remember, because I had had all that practice earlier when I had lost my job and so on and so forth. And I had said, well, Lord, let me be a blessing in the ways that I can be a blessing instead of focusing on my problems. So I said to God, I said, okay. I said, we missed our flight. Thankfully, my aunt, she could have gotten the flight, but she chose to stay back with me. If she hadn't, I would have turned around and driven or flown home. There's no way I would have done it on my own. She was amazing. I still thank her to this day for doing that. But I remember having a conversation with God in the middle of the Denver airport saying, okay, God, if this is what's going to happen, if this is part of the plan or the adventure of getting out there, then you need to show me who I can bless so that this doesn't go to waste. Because I want to be a blessing to you and not just sit here and gripe and complain and think about, why we lost our, or why we didn't catch our flight. And so I prayed with a man in the middle of the airport. He was going out to see his dying brother, never flown before, scared to death, and he also missed his flight. And then I remember I had to go to the bathroom, and there was a woman in the bathroom. She had a stroller. She had all of her luggage. She had her baby strapped to her, and she had to go to the bathroom. Well, there was no stalls where she could take everything with her. So I said to her, I said, you know what? I said, hi, I'm a fellow mom. I know you don't know it. My kids aren't with me. But is there any way that you would let me help you? I said, I will be more than happy to watch your luggage for you. I know you don't know me from Adam, but if I stand here and wiggle my toes underneath your stall, you'll see that I'm not leaving, that I'm not stealing anything. Would you let me help you? And so that's what I did. I stood there and wiggled my toes under her stall so that she could see that I wasn't going to go anywhere with her stuff, so that I could bless her so she could just go to the bathroom. So when we live with that adventure and when we live with that expectancy of how can we be used as a blessing with the resources that we have. And I had no resources that summer except hands that could hold a stroller. I had no resources in the airport except for a mouth that could pray, hopefully words of comfort to a man who had to go and bury his brother. I had no words of comfort except for a bunch of toys in my car and some arms that could keep a little boy safe so he wouldn't dart out into the road so his dad could take care of the ticket. If we let God use the resources that we have, then obviously those 3 instances blessed me so much that I still remember them like it was yesterday. We get so much more out of it and so much more blessing when we just live a life of wanting to bless others.
And I think that is so true because I don't know. I don't have the words, necessarily for it, that I'm trying to describe here. But yeah, like you say, and like you and I were talking about, previously, it's like encouragement and blessing can go hand in hand. But it doesn't mean that even though we're talking about today how to encourage and bless others, you would think, okay, well, what about me? The thing is, the most awesome thing about all of this is that while you're blessing others, you're being blessed as well.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
every time you did one of those acts with just what you had in your hands at that moment, you were blessed by it. Am I right, Sherry?
Oh, so tenfold. And it's so much to the point that I was then looking for people. Okay, is there another accident? Who can I help now? What can I do?
Yes, right?
Yes, like you want to keep going. And not because you want anybody to praise you or not because you want any kind of recognition. It has nothing to do with that. And it just has everything to do with pleasing your Heavenly Father and being able to help somebody knowing. And you know what? Even if you're somebody who has barely been blessed yourself, and if that's the case, I'm truly sorry. I am truly sorry. But if you start blessing other people, you will start being blessed. God will see that and he will reward that because that is the kind of God we serve.
Absolutely. And so if you are that, you happen to be that person to where it's just been a long time since someone has blessed you, right? And you're like, oh, you ladies have no idea. I haven't had a phone call, text, email, hug, smile, good word from anyone in a very long time. And you want me to go out? I'm like, deficient in that right now, right? Because my cup hasn't been filled in. How can I go and fill others? You will be surprised at how good our God works with that. And when you go and you start doing that with others, then all of a sudden you start realizing, I feel a little bit lighter. My step is a little bit lighter. Is that joy that I'm starting to feel? What is that like sweet presence that I feel all of a sudden? You start to realize that all of that you were deficient in, that by you stepping out and you doing that for someone else, that you were so blessed. And as Christians, God can just pour all of that all upon you. So when you were deficient because friends, family, and or loved ones, haven't been able to do that for you or couldn't or wouldn't, then all of a sudden you start reaching out for someone else. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, I'm smiling. I'm giggling. I'm laughing. I feel like dancing a little jig, and everything else. And you're like, how does that even happen? Because as you bless others, that blesses you, and God can and it opens us up to receive all of his blessings as children of God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has been so much fun. I'm telling you, this is another week that I could just go on and on and on and on, and I could talk to you about this forever. But instead, I think that we should bring people back next week, because next week we're going to talk about different resources that you can use that will either bless you or that you can use to share to bless with other people. Do you need encouragement? Do you need to be blessed? Do you need prayer? Head over to the cheeruppodcast@gmail.com because Kara and I would absolutely love to pray with you. We would love to share encouragement with you, talk to you, whatever it is that you need. We are happy to help because that's one of the things that we absolutely love to do. If you want to build a community or be a part of a community that's growing and building, then head over to our Facebook group, Cheer Up Podcast, and join that. And then you won't just hear from Kara and me, but you'll hear from a bunch of people who want to encourage and bless and become your friend. It has been so much fun. I honestly, this is probably another topic that I absolutely love, that you just can't get enough of, because blessing and encouragement, like we said, just go hand in hand. And it's so rewarding. And like I said, it's not because of the accolades. It's not because of anybody recognizing it. It's that encouragement and that blessing and that joy that bubbles up on the inside, knowing that God is using me to meet the needs of somebody else. And there's just really nothing like it. So head over to Kara's website, check her out, KaraRHunt.com. If you're new here and you want to check out my website, SherrySwalwell.com, CherisWalwell. We are so glad that you are here. We are so glad that you're spending time with us, and we cannot wait for you to come back next week, where we will talk about different resources that you can use to help bless and encourage other people in your life and in the lives of those that you love. Talk to you next week.